this. It's going to take some effort to do this next week. And then the second thing, when you're planning a day, a week, a month, or a year, include prayer in the planning process. Asking God for guidance makes it easier for you, and it is pleasing to Him. Next week, as you know, we're going to do this again, and we'll see how many of you come back. Next week, we are going to park on prayer. We're going to park on prayer. I cannot stress to you how important your prayer is. Not just prayer in general, but how important it is for you to be praying. It's important to everybody in your life that you are praying. Okay? And so we're going to talk about that a little bit next week. And I think the majority of us, if I were to ask you, I believe that 90% of you in here do not pray regularly. If you were to be honest, I would say I just believe that. I've come to truly, some of you that pray regularly are going, what? Yeah, I know it can be sometimes hard to believe, but yeah, I've asked people, and I've gotten some honest answers, looked at some surveys, and among Christians, most of us do not pray regularly. We pray when we have something happens to us, bad happens, and we really need God. We're like, oh God, please help me. But to really that intercessory prayer for your family, for your children, it just is not happening. It's just not happening. But anyway, that's a whole other subject that I want to go into next week, and it's very deep. I have really been on what I call a prayer journey for the last month or so. I had God come right down and plop right here and say, you're going to do this for me. And so I have learned so much, and I'm just so excited to share it with you, and I have shared a lot of it with my Sunday school class, but I'm so excited to share with you what God has taught me about prayer, and I'm going to do that next week, because that is such a big part of what our family needs from us and what we need for ourselves. So include prayer in the planning process. Ask God to guide you. Lord, if I'm going to put you at the top of my priority list, I need you to show me how to make the time. Give me the time, Lord. Okay? And which it doesn't take a lot of time either, I'm going to tell you. And number 3, obey what you already know God would have you to do. That's a given. Everybody knows, when it comes to, there are certain things that you're going to do that are already on your priority list. They're supposed to be there. Just do it. Do what you already know is to obey what God's already told you to do. Okay. Here's what I want to kind of talk about a little bit, though. More than likely, if you've got small children, the responsibility for getting them ready for church, getting them up for school, getting them on the school bus, getting their cereal in their bowl in the morning, a lot of those things are going to fall on you as a mother. It's just going to happen. It's going to be you that ends up doing that. And so it's going to be you primarily is the one that's going to set that alarm clock on Sunday morning. And get, I said to somebody the other day, I said, they said, well, I really need to get back in church. I haven't come in a long time. And I said, you know what? It's an hour. It's an hour a week. And I usually, because when you talk to somebody about going, they've gotten out of church, it's like, well, so I'm busy, and they tell you all this. And when it boils right down to it, I usually say, you know what? It's an hour. It's 1 hour. It's not a lot. It's not hard to do. And then most of the time, that responsibility of setting that alarm, getting those kids up, getting them fed, getting them dressed, getting them out the door to church on Sunday morning, it's going to be you. So you are the one who's going to have to take the initiative to do that. If you don't, your kids are going to be teenagers. I had somebody that was here when we first came here who said, you know, when it comes to the stories of David and Goliath, Daniel and the lion's den, all those basic Bible stories, I don't know them. And I thought, oh, you know, you assume everybody knows those, but if you know that stuff, where'd you learn it? You learned it in Sunday school. You think your kids are going to learn it if they're not in Sunday school? They're not. They're not. They're not going to learn it. It takes you getting up an extra hour. My most fond memories growing up was that hour of Sunday school. It was so fun. I loved the stories that I learned. All of that was so much fun. That means you've got to get up. You've got to get up, get them out the door, and get them here an hour early. Or your kids are going to grow up and they're not going to know the basics of God's Word. And that's sad. In a Christian home, in a Christian home, they're growing up and they're not knowing these things. That's sad. That's really sad. And I hate to say it, but it's us. We are responsible to do that. It's our job, basically. It's kind of been decided somehow, but that's us. We've got to get them up and get them out here. Now, maybe your husband, and a lot of times you think, oh, well, I wish my husband would do more of this and take more responsibility. I wish he was more of a spiritual leader, and all of us wish that. But, you know, that doesn't always happen, and, you know, he may not be the kind of spiritual leader that you would like him to be, or maybe this is just a responsibility that's been just delegated to you. But either way, it's going to require you to be disciplined. You're going to have to do it. It's going to be up to you. You're going to need to make priorities. You're going to have to say, okay, if nothing else, I will make sure that I'm there. I have my kids there, whatever. I'm going to make these priorities, and then I'm going to stick to them. I'm going to make a commitment to do it. And it's you. It is you that has to do that. And the last thing that I want us to talk about, and I talked about this a little bit just a minute ago, and that is prayer. Prayer is a must when it comes to responsibilities. If you were to if I were to ask you, okay, how many of you in here know that your husband is a huge prayer warrior, and he covers you with prayer, and he covers your children with prayer, and your grandchildren with prayer? Not many of us would say, oh yeah, I know that. Not many of us. And so, you know what? The responsibility is going to go right back here. And I hate that I'm standing up here saying, man, ladies, we are responsible for all of this, but we are. You have friends who will not be prayed for today unless you pray for them. You have children who will not be prayed for today unless you do it. You have grandchildren that will not be prayed for today unless you do it. You have sisters, brothers, moms, dads who will not have a single prayer said for them today unless you say it. Unless you say it. It's a big, big, big thing. And we sit back and we wonder, well, look at our country. Our country's just going to pot, you know, da-da-da. And yet, most Christians don't even pray. We assume everybody else is doing it. So we don't pray. Okay, and that's I'm going to kind of end it there, but I got something I want you to do, because this is something, and I'll give you a little bit more about this next week. But I have right here this little tear-off. It says, don't walk life alone, let me pray for you. That is something that I'm doing. As some of you know, if you have email, I've sent you emails the last few weeks and asked you to send me your most pressing prayer need. And I have taken every day for 5 days for the last 2 weeks, and I have prayed specifically for you and your need. Okay? I have, if you read my blog, you know that I'm doing a little bit different this week. I am completely devoting the next 5 days to praying for you.